We got a new movie review here, the new release Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania just came out, and you know how the new reviews go. We're gonna do the first half non-spoiler review, and in the back half we're gonna have the spoilers. So let's go hop into this episode movie breakdown. But before I get started, I want to let you know what Movie Breakdown is about. It's a movie review series looking at new and old movies, giving a grade A through F, plus and minus do count. Any review you want me to do, let me know. Please put in the comment section below and I get to it as best I can. And you also want to get a review cut in front of everybody. You want your review out way before it comes on Facebook and YouTube. I have a Patreon/AliZakka for $2 a month. You get everything when it comes to reviews out way before it comes on your Facebook and YouTube. Let's go ahead and get into today's episode of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. What is this movie about? This movie is about Scott Lang and Ant-Man and the Ant family, how they all getting together and bonding. And when Cassie Lang decides to make a machine that can look into the quantum world, it sends a signal out that decides to bring a teleportation, open up the world of Quantumania to the quantum world to the Ant family and drags them into the quantum world. And Ant-Man and the Wasp and the rest of the Ant family has to survive and get out of the quantum world and also fight one of the biggest conquerors in the universe. And that's pretty much the gist of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Pure and simple. What I liked of the movie, I like the CGI, I like the world building, I like the colors and the exploration of the world that we're in. We're in a whole new universe, in a whole new world. We're exploring the quantum world, the quantum realm, and we get to see everything. We get to see the different designs. There's certain pictures and images in this movie that I was like, that can be on a computer screen, that can be on a background, it can be a phone saver. It reminded me of like outer space, but it's actually microscopic world. It was kind of cool how the design, the look of everything looked on the big screen. Another thing I like is the acting. The acting in this movie is phenomenal. I mean, everybody's going 110%. Everybody from MODOK to Kang to Cassie to the Wasp to Janet to Hank to Scott Lang, they're all going, like, the actors and actresses are all going all in. Like Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, freaking Jonathan Majors, they're all going 110% into roles, and it is great. The villain is another thing I like in this movie. He's not just your cheesy villain. He wants to win. Like, that's the goal of the villain in this movie. Like, he wants to win. He doesn't want to lose, and he's the conqueror. And you guys are in my way, and he wants something from Scott, Ant-Man, to do. He wants him to do something for him, and just the presence of this villain on screen and the way he brings, like, it's terrifying. Like, Jonathan Majors brings a different kind of character to this movie. Not like Thanos, but almost a different way where, like, these are two completely different types of villains. And also at the Jonathan Majors portrayal of He Who Remains at the end of Loki, it's almost completely flipped version of that character. The He Who Remains character is more of a jokey character, but from the trailer, this character, the Kang the Conqueror character in this movie, he is a more serious, no nonsense, get out of my way or you will die character. The acting is great. The world building and the landscape and the colors, the CGI in this movie is great. The music there's some music in here that works for this movie as well. The action is good. I like the action in this movie. The downfall of this movie for me is that I didn't like some of the writing for the characters in this movie. I didn't like the way the first half of the movie sets up, where they're saying things where it's like, we gotta be aware of him. We can't know what him is. We can't talk about him. Or how a character won't explain stuff to the characters. And then they ask, they won't explain it. And then something happens, they force to explain it. It's some tropes you've seen in other movies before when it comes to characters giving exposition where they won't give something or they won't explain something until everybody's actually in it. And now everybody's involved in the situation. Now I guess I'll tell you guys about this. I guess I'll tell you guys about that. It's some things I didn't like with that. And it just seemed like another. It's a good movie, but it doesn't really, as far as the movie goes, it doesn't really like it doesn't really. The way I want to say it, like, it's nothing about this movie that's terrible. It's nothing about this movie that's gonna be super great. It is funny. I did like there's some funny bits in here, but there's also things in this movie that I laughed at that I was like, yeah, that wasn't a joke, but I couldn't stop laughing at. Like, there's a character I'm talking about in the, I guess he's in the trailer, so I can't talk about him. But when MODOK shows his real face in this movie, I just kept laughing at his CGI. It was hilarious. And I I was laughing in the theaters for a solid moment. Like, I was going for a good 30 seconds, and I just couldn't stop laughing, and I was the only one laughing because it was not the best. Not the best. But then, no, Tyreek came and watched it with me, and we were talking about, like, he's like, how do you do MODOK good? You can't. He's a trash character as is. There's only one time I've seen MODOK look intimidating, and that was from the video game Marvel Ultimate Alliance, the first one. During the loading screens, they had like character arts of characters and drawing like art characters of the characters, and MODOK looks intimidating in that, like he's an intimidating character. But in reality, MODOK is not a great character design, and to put it on the big screen, you're just kind of like, why did you do it? And why choose it for this movie? And there's a reason why. I'll talk about the spoilers, because Tyreek and I talk about this for certain characters that gave them something to work with. But yeah, and it's some cliche stuff in this movie that you're going to see that you heard in other movies that comes back around. And for me, it's just like, there was some negatives I had, was like the little bit of cliche, the character not explaining things until things are happening kind of situation that you get in other movies. But for the most, and that's in the first half of the movie, but for the most part, when Jonathan Majors comes on screen as Kang the Conqueror, it's some good stuff. So that's my negatives and my positives. Let's go ahead and get into the directing and actors and actresses. So Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, it is a PG-13 movie. It is 2 hours and 5 minutes. It was directed by Peyton Reed, and writers are Jeff Loveness and Jack Kirby, who was the actual comic book writer of it. And I believe Peyton Reed did Ant-Man and Wasp, just Ant-Man and the Wasp. Let me see. No, he did the first Ant-Man, and he did Ant-Man and the Wasp. Okay, so yeah, he worked on the first Ant-Man. So, yeah, he's very familiar with the game. Let's go and get into the cast. Paul Rudd, great job. He's killing it as Ant-Man. Like, just good work. His comedy in this movie is great. His play off the other characters are great. Like, there's a part where like he delivers some serious acting in this movie. I think he did a great job. Evangeline Lilly, who plays Hope, she didn't really have as much big of an impact as you know, the other characters in the movie. She was there. She had some good fighting moments, but in a good rescue moment. But she's not as, like, far as like dialogue goes, she wasn't as big of an impact of a character in this movie. She kind of took a step back. Michael Douglas, who played Hank Pym, he's all the same thing. Like, they have their arcs in their other movies, so they're just kind of more here to support the more supporting cast. But great job. Michelle Pfeiffer, who played Janet. This is more of a Michelle Pfeiffer movie. She's more of the forefront. She's more of a catalyst for things to go on in this movie, why things are happening. She's been in the quantum realm before. You get to learn what's going on when she was there, and she plays a bigger role in this movie, a much, much bigger role. And a few things I'm gonna talk about in the spoiler section about her character as well, because there's some things in here you're like, okay, they're wrapping, of course Marvel World does wrap real life stuff into this, but they definitely do this in this movie. Jonathan Majors, who played Kang the Conqueror, great work from Jonathan Majors. Killing it. He is killing it from his performance in Loki as He Who Remains, who's a version of Kang, and this version of Kang is also killing it. And I'll talk more about him in spoilers, but just intimidating. His presence, great work. Great work. And then Catherine Newton, who plays Cassie Lane. This is also a Cassie Lane movie. This is great work from Catherine as well. She's also the forefront of this movie when it comes to her being one of the main characters. Good work. And I'm curious to see how she plays off, you know, if they do make another movie with Ant-Man 4, I'm curious to see how Cassie plays off of Paul Rudd and keeps going. But I thought Catherine Newton did a great job. Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd did a great job playing together with each other. Any other thoughts? There are 2 after credit scenes. Stick around for them. You get more that's going on with this universe and what they're building up. And yeah, that's about it. The music, like I talked about, is great. The CGI, I liked the CGI in this movie. And there's certain parts of CGI is not as strong, but for the most part, CGI looked amazing. The world is living in, great work there. The acting is great. Yeah, I think the downfall is that like it's not a bad movie. It's not a good. It's not a amazing movie. It's definitely a it's a fun MCU movie. Is it better than Love and Thunder? Yes, to me it is. Is it better than Shang-Chi? I think Shang-Chi was the better movie, but this movie definitely has some great stuff in it as far as comedy as well. All right, is this a Friday night movie or a movie you should see in theaters? Yeah, you're an MCU fan, go watch this movie in theaters. Anytime I watch an MCU movie, I think they're always great to watch in theaters. I don't think it's a waste of time. I think you're going to have fun with this movie. So go watch this movie in theaters and great time. I'm going to grade Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I'm going to give this movie a C+, a 79%. This movie gets a 79% for me. It's not a bad movie. It's just not the greatest movie either. It's an average superhero movie that you're going to have fun with watching, and the acting in this movie is great. It's definitely like right there in the middle pack of a movie. Average is fine. Nothing wrong with average movies. Go have fun. Go watch this one. Enjoy it. You're going to have fun with this, especially a superhero fan. You're going to have fun with this movie. So go watch and enjoy it and have a good time. Grading from other people like IMDb. IMDb gives this movie a 6.6 out of 10. That is a D. And Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gives the movie a 48%, which, why? And the audience gives the movie an 84%. That is a B. That's a B. So I don't know why the critics gives the movie like an F, because it's not a bad movie. The critics trying to tank this movie for what for? Let's see what some critics say here. Yet there it was, that thought, overarching and overwhelming, I didn't feel a thing. That's what Matthew Likonoff said, who's the top critic on this review for Rotten Tomatoes. Another person, Ant-Man Return is notable for the villain and not a lot more, meaning this sequel shrinks into the back of the memory rather quickly, disappearing into the multiversal content void, almost as if it never existed in the first place. This is from Sarah Michelle Feathers. Okay, this person just didn't put anything on here. The worst Marvel movie yet, Catherine James. Get over yourself. It's not the worst Marvel movie. You're going to have fun watching this movie. Ooh, let's give what this person give a tomato. He says, undermined like too many recent MCU entries by murky, muddy visuals, and undermotivated, underdeveloped supervillain, a script light on humor and long on family drama. The film at least benefits from an unsurprisingly strong cast. So this dude gives it a tomato, but the other is giving it splats. Nothing more than, and that's from Mel Valentine. And then here's somebody else. I'm gonna do this one and then call it a day. Nothing more than a desperate money grab for Marvel, overplaying an already weak minor character to buy time for the next phase. Guys, this is a setup movie. This is a setup movie. You're setting up a bigger piece. Instead of bringing the main villain, waiting till he's in a lot later or have him on the sidelines like they did with Thanos, this villain is going to be here for quite a long time. And matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and get into the spoilers section. So I'm going to hold that thought. I'm going to hold that thought before I hop into spoilers. So I'm giving this movie a C plus. I say 9%. Most of my grading on here is average grading. It's usually C's or B's. I haven't really given that many A's in a while, and I really don't give that many D's, or I haven't given an F in like a year or so. That shows you how my thought process on movies has changed. This movie is a fun movie. You're gonna have fun. You're gonna go enjoy it. You saw the audience give this movie an 84%. That's a B. I give it a 79%, a C plus. You're gonna have fun with this movie. These critics here who are expecting this next great Marvel thing, not saying they should expect it, but when you watch the trailers and you've seen everything that's going on, do not walk into this movie thinking it's about to blow your freaking mind. It is not that. There's a lot of stuff that's setting up in here, and I'm actually going to talk about that in the spoiler section, because that's one of the downfalls that I do give this movie when it comes to Ant-Man Wasp Quantumania. So I give this movie a C+. If you've seen Ant-Man Wasp Quantumania, what did you think? Please put in the comment section below. Other than that, see you guys in the next episode of Movie Breakdowns, and keep being awesome. And then let's get into the spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Alright, first things first, let's hop into some of these comments here these people said. So, Dustin Chase, who's like, nothing more than a desperate money grab for Marvel, overplaying an already weak minor character to buy time for the next phase. And this is from Akil Aura. Jonathan Major is great, but his Kang, the Marvel Cinematic Universe next big bad, suffers in a film that looks fake and struggles to sketch an arc for his growing ensemble. These two need to understand this movie is a setup movie. Introduce Kang the Conqueror, but the exiled version of Kang the Conqueror. So you remember Loki. And at the end of Loki, you meet He Who Remains, who is Kang, who is played by Jonathan Majors. It tells you guys, if you kill me, another one of you is going to show up, and he's going to be worse than the last one. He's going to be worse than me. This one, I was assuming is the real Kang, he says the same thing in this movie. He said, if you defeat me or kill me, or no, you don't let me out of here, because he's trapped in this prison. So what happens is, Janet is in there for 30 years. She's in the quantum realm for 30 years. She meets Bill Murray's character, by the way, and they hook up, and then they probably has some interaction with Kang, because she's like, she has needs. She actually does say this in this movie. So I was like, that's a little real world thing there. And then there's a whole thing about socialism that also is like, why did Hank Pym bring this up? He's like, yeah, he knows a touchy subject, but socialism, I laughed in theaters because of that. I was like, that's not why you bringing up a real life thing. But anyway, back to my point. Janet freezes Kang the Conqueror in the quantum world. In the quantum world, quantum realm, how you want to call it. She puts him in there and locks him in there, and when she escapes, thanks to the events of Ant-Man and Wasp, she gets away from all that. Now, Kang was exiled there because he apparently was causing some kind of trouble, causing some kind of issue, starting a war, fighting a bunch of other Kangs, that the other Kang was like, he's too dangerous, put him in exile. And he said, I lost. I want to win. That is why I am here. I am here to win. Let me win. I'm going to get that vengeance and revenge. But he does say, if you don't let me out of here, what will happen is that the others will come. And they're like, who will come? Me. He says the same thing as the He Who Remains said in Loki. So this is a setup movie, because the one we got in this movie is not the Kang the Conqueror that we should be afraid of. And at one of the after credit scenes, you get the Council of Kangs, and all the Kangs are around, and they're saying like, okay, they're learning how to defeat us, and they're tapping into the multiverse. Let's us prepare to stop them. So Kang is going to be a different version of him, probably in different movies, cause a bunch of problems. And then at another after credit scene, you get Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson show back up for the events of Loki 2 and Kang the Conqueror, talking about time travel, and you're like, oh my gosh, we're getting Loki 2, season 2 with Kang the Conqueror as well. Jonathan Majors is balling out his mind right now, and he's doing great. But they're like, oh, this movie is not a great of a movie, stuff like that. It's a setup movie, guys. We're setting up for the next phase of the MCU. You have to get the big giant battle at the end of the movie where unknown characters are fighting unknown characters, CGI characters, and it's a big over the top battle. But this movie is not really about all the over the top stuff. This movie has a more solid core when you look into it, when it comes to this movie. You have the Janet storyline that I kind of mentioned, where Janet kind of helps Kang the Conqueror get his stuff together and unleashes him on the quantum realm, and she starts fighting back against him. And Janet can help Kang get his energy system back so he can get out of quantum realm and go where he needs to go to take over another universe. Because for him, time is, as he says, not that important of a thing. He can get back time. So he's a time skipper. He's know how to go through different multiverses and stuff like that, which this Kang the Conqueror knows he's doing that. But he's also a guy don't play around. He's going to end you if you stop him. Then you have the storyline of Scott Lang and Cassie, where they actually get the bond more, and Scott wants to be in his daughter's life, but other events, the first Ant-Man and the second Ant-Man, you don't get those events. He don't get to be a part there, and then he finally gets a chance to be in her life, but she wants to make it more of an impact. So Scott right now is building, he's made a book, he's an author now. He's not really doing that much superhero work. He's kind of like living life and just him having a good time with Hope, who is head of Hope Industries now, and she's doing all this different stuff, and she's helping the community out. Scott is dating her, and they're having a great time together, and they're enjoying life. Well, Cassie's like, well, people are still struggling, Dad, and you need to do these things so that way people don't struggle. It's like you don't fight people unless it's your fight. So she kind of gets her father back into the superhero game, but also she gets her own suit, and she talks about it at the beginning of the movie. She's like, I have my own suit. I have a suit. And he's like, you have a suit. And then she finally uses it later in the movie. I was like, why are you making this a big reveal? You already said she has a suit. So why are you making it a big reveal? Another thing she mentions that, my life changed when a giant bee dude dressed as a bee costume was in my room, threatening to kill me. My life changed forever. I've never been normal ever since then. Well, she gets that moment to redeem herself or get that win back because Darian Cross is in this movie as MODOK. MODOK is played by freaking Darian Cross, and when the CGI, when he released his helmet and you see his actual face, and it's Darian Cross, who is played by Corey Schroll, who comes back in his role in the first Ant-Man. When he is playing MODOK, it is the most hilarious CGI there is. And I was laughing for a good 30 seconds. I couldn't stop laughing. He revealed his face and I was like dying laughing. And the writing for him is cheesy as all get out. Like, there's a scene where Hope tells him stop being a dick. You don't have to be a dick. He's like, I don't know who else to be in life but a dick. She's like, you don't have to be a dick. Just don't be it. And at the end of the movie, he comes and helps Ant-Man and the gang beat Kang. And he comes and is like, I'm not a dick. And I'm just like, the cover relief for him was so bad. But Cassie does get a chance to fight MODOK. And MODOK's like, I have to die as an Avenger. And I'm like, are we doing a death scene here for MODOK, for Darian Cross? Okay, sure, fine. Like, he was not the best thing in this movie, but like, you can see Corey Schroll having a good time, going all 110% in. There are some jokes with the quantum world characters, and there's some few funny things with that. Like, there's a character who realizes humans have different holes, and he wants holes, and he finally get a hole, and he sucks people up into his hole, and then spit them out or consume them. And he's like, I have a hole now, and you're like, okay, interesting. There's a mind reader character in this movie. Like, there's different stuff, and played by like people you might have seen before, but really, like, just seeing MODOK in this movie and him getting a death scene, you're just like, all right, well, expecting Darian to be in this movie, Darian Cross, from the first Ant-Man. I do like how they wrap stuff around, and they actually had a flashback scene for Darian Cross, just in case you forgot what happened to him in the first Ant-Man, because I think Ant-Man came out in 2013 or 14? No, 2013, because 14 was Guardians of the Galaxy. It's been a while, so I do appreciate them doing flashbacks so you know what's going on, but that storyline with Cassie and MODOK was already kind of foretold when she said, my life changed when a dude in a bee costume was in my room. Like, there was kind of stuff that was kind of cheesy that's already like, oh, you foreshadowed that. Also, I cannot stand the He who remains, we can't talk about him. Or he's gonna look for them. Who's looking for them? He's looking for them. Worried about him. Who is he? You gotta be careful of. What happened? I can't tell you what happened. What do you mean you can't tell me what happened? Okay, now I can tell you what happened. Now we're actually experiencing stuff. I can't not stand that trope. That trope is done so many times that like Ant-Man and Wasp and Quantumania fell into that same trap of them saying the same thing over and over again. It was like, we can't explain who it is. Oh, now that Kane showed up, we can talk about Kane and what he looks like. Just, it was really just cliche and didn't need to be done. Like, Michelle Pfeiffer character Janet could have told them what happened to her and got that out of the way, so if something does go sideways and get pulled back in there like they did, that they will be prepared for this. So, but Kang the Conqueror is trying to get out of the quantum realm by using his power sword that Janet blew up, makes like a giant core, shrink it back down. That's what he needs Scott Lang for, to shrink it back down so he can get out. And when they were trying to get out, he told Scott, if you don't do this, I will kill your daughter. So Scott goes and does it, gets the power source back into a small ball, gives it back to Kane, or Kane just takes it, I should say, leaves him out to dead. The ant shows up, help out the ants, and there's a giant ant battle at the end too. And it's actually placed very, very cliche, like, because Kane goes, "You're not a powerful Avenger. You're a guy who talks to ants." And then ants shows up, overtakes him, and whatnot. But then there's a scene in the movie where Kane is going toe to toe with Scott Lang, with Ant-Man, and I thought they were going to kill Ant-Man in this movie. I thought they were going to do it. I thought they had the balls to kill Ant-Man. They didn't do it. I was like, oh my gosh, we were about to kill him, but we didn't. They didn't kill him. He ended up getting saved, and then the fake out of Ant-Man and the Wasp being in this quantum realm forever. But Cassie figured out how to get them back, and they go back home. And in the end, the movie happens where Ant-Man contemplates, maybe I just unleash havoc upon the universe. And he's like, nah, I didn't. I should not think about it. So Ant-Man definitely thinking about, like, maybe the decision he made in this movie could have impact the universe moving forward. So we will see what happens, because Kang the Conqueror in this movie, the exiled one, is not the one that you need to be afraid of. And now it makes you wonder, who is the Kang the Conqueror that's the one that's about to wreak havoc. So yeah, that's the things I want to talk about when it comes to Ant-Man and the Wasp. If you've seen it, what you think? Go have fun with it. Other than that, see you guys in the next episode of Movie Breakdowns. Keep being awesome. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. If there's a review you want me to watch or do, let me know. Please put it in the comment section below this video. Also, you want to watch the last episode of Movie Breakdowns, it's right there. Just gotta click on it and you'll be able to watch it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Love y'all, and keep being awesome.